welcome to D.A.M Fine Meats, a celebration of burgers and the like based on movies reviewed on our D.A.M Fine movie channel. Today, in honor of Jackie Chan's First Strike, we'll be producing the Jackie Chan First Strike. A little history about this thing is that Jackie Chan loves curry and crabs, so in honor of Jackie Chan, we're going to do a curried crab cake with a little bit of green onion here, and we're just going to sliver these straight through the middle. I'm going to chop off the tips. Keep this, not that we're using it in this recipe, but you can always produce stock from it or other type things such as that. You're just going to run these straight through the middle. And you don't want a lot. Honestly, it depends on how many burgers you're doing. We're just dropping this in a bowl of cold ice water. So we're going to open up this crab meat. You can get crab meat pretty much anywhere. Luckily for us here at the show, we happen to work by a coast, so yay seafood. We're going to put these in, and no matter where you get your crab meat from, you always want to make sure that invariably you go through it. You want to make sure that there are no shell chunks in it. Sometimes it ends up happening even with the best type of sorting machines that they go through. So just kind of run your hand through it. Crab is especially soft, so you'll definitely know if there's any shell parts. Also, they tend to have a very different color. See, like that right there. That's crab shell. You don't want to eat that. Next step to this process, we're going to create a very simple crab cake. Jackie Chan likes curry, so what we're adding here is 1/4 cup of Thai green curry. You can make this at home. Cilantro, chilies, lemongrass are the big three flavors in Thai green curry. So those tend to be really soft. They don't overpower the crab itself, especially that lemongrass. Tends to be nice and savory. Gets a little bit, cuts through the sweetness of crab. You're just going to want to give that a good mix together. You don't want to incorporate it too harshly because you don't want to break apart the crab even more. The softness along with this, if you over mix it or add too much, could just produce a mush, and that's not what you're looking for. You're looking for big chunks of crab in your crab cake. Now, as you can see, we're pretty soft here. It's almost kind of falling out of my hands. So we're going to need to bind this up somehow. We're just going to go 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs, 2 ounces. If you're adventurous, make breadcrumbs yourself. You just take some bread, leave it out overnight. You can put it in the oven, spice it up however you want. Also, the best breadcrumbs are typically made from bread you make the day before. So you definitely don't want to try to do this entire process all in one day, all in one step. Or else your breadcrumbs will be too soft and they won't actually do anything to bind your food together. I can kind of pick it up, just turn it into a ball in my hand without applying too much pressure. That's pretty much what we're looking for. I know some of you are going to be adverse to what I'm about to do, but you want to check your seasoning before you add salt and pepper, so just go ahead and try it. You need to add some salt to this. None of the things I've added thus far have been particularly salt-filled, and you just want to add enough salt to where you get a very light dusting on top. Overexposing salt will give you too much salt, and then it'll taste salty, but adding just enough salt will enhance all the flavors within and make everything really pop. For those of you guys wondering, that's about 1/4 of a teaspoon. Like I said, you don't want to add a lot because with these green onions on top, we're also going to add a little salt to a couple other things that we're doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of oil, hot pan. From there we're going to form up our patties. You make these as big or as small as you want. We're going to go roughly the size of this biscuit ring here, just so everything stays in place. This is not a process that you necessarily have to have an exacting science on. If you like more crab, do a bigger crab patty. If you like a smaller crab, do a smaller crab patty. You do want, though, a consistent thickness, and as you're pressing these together, you're going to want to run your thumb along the backside in order to make sure that you get a seam built in the middle. No one wants that middle part of the crab that's going to be completely undercooked because you decided not to do anything about it. So we're just going to drop this right here in the oil. You hear that sizzle going? Pretty much for crab, you're just going to want to cook it all the way through. Unlike most other meats, you can't necessarily eat it rare. That's just asking for trouble. Let that set for about 2 minutes or so. You see some bubbles forming up along the edges of the crab. We're just going to let that go just for a minute. While that's happening, we're going to move this out of the way and we're going to mess around with some rice. So, what we're going to do is we're going to just, if you've ever made white rice, you just need a pot of water. You need some white rice and some salt. So, get those things together. You're going to want to put them in a pot. Alright, so it's been going for about 3 minutes here. We're just going to flip this bad boy over. You're going to see some coloration on the bottom of it. And don't worry if it's not horribly colored on top, because like I said, it's a burger. You're going to get some char in there. Also, you want to make sure that your pan is nice and hot. You don't want it to be too low, or else what's going to end up happening is it's just sitting in oil and it's going to be greasy, and no one wants a greasy crab patty. Like, crab cakes should be soft and light and a little bit of kind of moistness on the inside, but you don't want to feel greasy mouthfeel. Actually, while we're doing these green onions uncooked, because the less things that we have kind of fried, put on top, the smoother, cleaner a mouthfeel you're going to get. And Jackie Chan loves good crisp feeling in his mouth. So we're just going to let this cook for about another 2 minutes on this side, and then we'll get to our rice, which will be finishing up, and we'll go about assembling this. Alright, so after the crab is cooked off for about 2 minutes here on each side, what we're going to do is we're just going to remove this from the pan. I'm using a cast iron pan here. You can use whatever pan you have at the house. If you're using cast iron, you definitely want to make sure not to be grabbing that handle because it's a great conductor of heat. So afterwards, the rice has come off the stove. We're letting that cool down a little bit. And then, because you know, movies, what ends up happening is the rice becomes rice patties. Like I said, this is why we're using this biscuit cutter here for roughly the shape of the crab, because we're going to turn these into patties. They've already been cooked. They're cooked almost all the way through. And then we're just going to take these rice patties and we're going to fry them off. These that we end up setting our burgers on, because Jackie Chan ain't about eating white bread. I mean, you know, I'm sure he's all about carbs. You know, he does stunts and stuff like that, but if you're gonna go curry, why go white bread? That sounds awful. Anyway, so while this is cooking, we're gonna explain about why this crab is sitting here. When you end up cooking meat, it ends up heating up and ends up boiling, releasing all of its liquids out, which is how you get that cool sear on the outside. What we want to do is we want to let that sit, let the juices enter the meat into the cells, allow that to rest, and it produces a better, more juicy meat product. In this case, crab cake, burgers later, steaks, pretty much anything that you end up doing will be exactly the same way. So these rice is making sure not to have it stick, which is why you see me press it up against one of the back sides. That allows me to build kind of a wall on at least one side to help maintain its structure. And then after it's cooked for about a minute or so, minute and a half, we'll end up flipping it just like the burger, just like the crab cake, and then it will become a formed rice patty. After the rice has come off, we're just going to pull this in. You're going to get 2 buns here, just like that. We're going to set them up just as a sandwich type thing, but can't really be a burger bun, can it, without some type of seed on top? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this top bun here. We're just going to drop a little bit of, this is black sesame seed. You can always do regular sesame seed if you'd like. I just enjoy the color difference there. And we're going to do some black salt on top too. Just pops off that white coloration. Also, because we didn't season this all that heavily, it's going to go there. Then, like I said, top off with your garnish. Theoretically, you should probably be doing this before you add it right to the, add the bun on top. But I gotta make sure you guys see every part of it. So we're just gonna take a couple pieces of this onion right here. Just going to kind of fold them up on top and bird nest them. Doesn't have to look spectacular, anything like that. And also, you can forego this stuff. If you don't like green onion, don't add green onion. This is going to be your burger at the end of the day.